just passing through. American poet Ralph Waldo Emerson believed, "It is not length of life that matters, but 'tis the depth." In November 1859, Sylvester and Eunice Pelton of Vermilion, Ohio, received a letter from their daughter, Anna Maria Goodell, in Washington Territory. She wrote to tell them that her father-in-law, Jotham, had suffered a stroke and had passed away. Jotham Weeks Goodell entered this world on April 23, 1809. He was the youngest of 11 children, born to William and Phoebe Newton Goodell of Templeton, Massachusetts. They were direct descendants of Robert and Catherine Goodell, who had arrived at Salem on the pilgrim ship Elizabeth in 1634. Although details regarding his early education are unclear, records of his life very clearly indicate that he was both a learned and articulate orator and writer. At age 18, he entered the ministry and founded the Niagara Presbyterian Church of Canada in Ontario. There he met and married his wife, Anna Glenning Batchelor. It was also there that 5 of their 11 children were born. While he was obviously an intensely religious person, he was also a passionate American patriot. He promoted the annexation of Ontario by the United States of America. Goodell family lore has it that Jotham, Anna, and their children hurriedly migrated to the U.S. from Canada in a rowboat, crossing over Lake Erie to Ohio. This was shortly after the audacious clergyman raised the American flag atop the British banner. For some reason, this deed agitated Canadians so thoroughly that they were bent on lynching him. Whatever the case, the family found themselves in Ohio's Erie County by 1837, where Jotham became the second pastor to serve the first Congregational Church in Florence, Jessup Township. 6 years later, he was serving a Congregational Church in Medina County. While there, he wrote and published a 47-page pamphlet criticism of what was then a gospel movement in the U.S., known as cannibalism. By December of 1843, the family had returned to Erie County in Vermilion, where he began a new ministry, delivering the dedication sermon at a newly constructed Presbyterian church. It was the first church in Vermilion.
In 1868, the congregation of this church voted to change from the Presbytery to the Fellowship of the North Central Association of Congregational Churches. Today, the church still exists and is known as the United Church of Christ, Congregational of Vermilion.
In the late 1840s, a new frontier in the Oregon Territory to the west beckoned. The government was offering free land to willing settlers, and Jotham viewed it as an opportunity where one's family might, by applying some reasonable measures of prudence, industry, and economy, prosper. So, gathering 7 of his children together, they headed west. The year was 1850. Arriving at the foot of the Blue Mountains in Utah late in the season, Jotham's party opted to winter there.
Mormon residents called it the State of Deseret, i.e. beehive, which was a synonym for a theocratic kingdom of God. Their stay was unpleasant, and like his Canadian experience, nearly lethal. Experience is well documented in a series of 9 letters he wrote to the Oregonian newspaper in 1852.
Upon reaching Oregon, the family first settled in the Willamette Valley in Polk County, where it took nearly a year for Jotham to recoup the losses incurred by their Utah sojourn. But by 1853, when Washington became a territory of itself, he was able to move the family across the Columbia River to a claim he had on 64 acres of land south of Olympia, at a spot still known as Goodell's Point, just east of Grand Mound. There he built a large cedar shake house which served as an inn for travelers, which became well known throughout the territory. And there he delivered the territory's first Independence Day oration. In 1858, he was elected to the Washington Territorial Legislature. And in 1859, he assisted in the organization of the First Presbytery of Puget Sound and became the postmaster at Grand Mound. Although his life was certainly not lengthy, it did have a great deal of depth to it. And though he did not spend a great deal of time in Vermilion, that time was remarkably profound, especially for a fellow who was just passing through.